Hi guys, today I'm going to be talking to you about the cognitive perspective. So let's get started. So what is the cognitive perspective, we may ask? Well, the cognitive perspective is concerned with the mental functions relating to the brain. Some of these functions are perception, memory, categorization, generalization, and attention. These are very highly important because we do use these while we are learning and in our everyday lives. So the cognitive perspective can be looked upon in like many different views. What I'm going to be focusing on is like the cognitive perspective in like learning. So basically what this is that the cognition refers to mental activity including thinking, remembering, learning, and using language. When we apply a cognitive approach to learning and teaching, we focus on the understanding of information and concepts. So to basically break this down even more, the cognition deals with thinking, remembering, learning, and using language. When we use the cognitive approach, we focus on the understanding of information and concepts. So the last bullet point on this slide that I wanted to share is I found it like really fascinating that people like the cognitive perspective actually views like us as people being very like similar to computers and like the way we process information. So this is just like a quick example, like the input to the process and then like the process to the output. So it's just like, gaining that information, we're using that information, and then like what we do with that information is like the output. So like a quick example of this would be like baking. So we're reading the instructions on how to make cookies. We're gathering on our ingredients and measurements. We start the process of making these cookies, and then finally, putting in the oven, and then the output would just be the cookies themselves. So, to every perspective, there are advantages and disadvantages. So we're going to start with the advantages first. So one of the strengths of the cognitive approach is that it does have many practical applications. So in other words, like what practical application really means, it's just like it's applied things we already know. These things we use every single day. Just brushing your teeth, flossing your teeth, buttoning in a shirt. So these practical applications can be very easy to apply in the classroom and use with your students. So another advantage to this approach is that it is very heavily relies on experiments as its main research method. So basically what this is saying is that the studies taking the cognitive approach are somewhat scientific and are more valid because the strenuous variables are controlled. So now we're going to move on to like the disadvantages. So the one main disadvantage of the cognitive perspective is that it refers to the cognitive process that we can't directly observe. Hint why cognitive, deals with the brain. We really can't pinpoint where all of this is coming from. So, and another thing that it does rely heavily on inferences. And then another disadvantage is that the findings of the results are the invisible process and are heavily subjective and could lead to self-fulfilling prophecy and internal rationality being raised as issues. So, and then the last disadvantage that I wanted to talk about was that the cognitive perspective, like it ignores other factors such as like behavior and specific learning disabilities. So that doesn't like that. What am I trying to say? It has a huge effect on it, on this because like behavior does affect like the way we think, and especially like specific learning disabilities such as like dyslexia, dyscalculia, dysgraphia, things like that. It does affect the way we think. So we also have to take part of those things affecting that. So for my lesson activity, it's basically based around grade 1, but it can definitely be adapted for other grades in elementary school. So the focus of my activity is going to be beginning sounds. Simply like what this is, that I would be showing a picture with objects to the class. Then they would say the name of that object, the beginning letter of that sound, and the sound that is associated with that letter. Also, for this lesson, it can definitely be incorporated in an ELL classroom. So when you're showing this object to your classroom, you can have the students who are native speakers, share if they want to, what that object is called in their language. So I think this is very important because you're incorporating their language and culture into this lesson as well. So a quick example of this would just simply be apples. Apples is in English, but in Spanish it would be mañanas. So then simply after that, the student can say, oh, this actually starts with an N. The N sounds like this. But you just get to see that compare and contrast between the two different languages. But then at the end, you would want to take the focus back to English and do it that way. So lastly, I have a demonstration video of what I'm talking about. So I'm going to show it real quick if it loads. No. Alright, sorry for... Hey guys, so I decided to also incorporate a little video on how my lesson would simply work to give you that actual visual representation. So what I simply would do in the classroom is hold up a picture of an object. We would say the object out loud together, and then we would say the letter that it begins with, and then we would say that letter sound. So for an example, I would hold this up, and it is a picture of an apple. Apple starts with an A. A makes the sound ah. So then we would all put it together and say apple starts with A. A makes the sound ah. And then if you were teaching in an ELL classroom, how this would work is simply you would also just hold this up. You would go over the whole concept saying this is an apple, starts with A makes the sound ah, but to also incorporate other languages, you would, for an example, have if you had a Spanish speaker in your classroom, you can, if they would like to share, they would probably say that an apple in their language is manzanas, so which starts with M, and then they would continue talking to the class that M in their language is pronounced like this, blah 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 blah. I think it's pronounced the same as English. But so that's just an example of how to do this in an ELL classroom and a education classroom. So thanks. Bye. Hey guys, so that is the end of my presentation. Thanks for watching.